Right, so generally speaking, when I have planted multiple days plantings in one day, I have done very different trees in very different places, so it's very clear that it is representing multiple days worth of planting. But today, because I'm making up for 2 days when I was sick, I'm actually going to be doing 3 trees in one area, and I am going to count that because it's my own thing, so I make up the rules, so I might as well. And I was sick, so I feel like I get a little bit more leeway. But today we are going to be continuing a pattern that I've been doing with Dracaena. So we're going into my thicket area, which is an area of quite dense planting where I have a lot of tender trees which are from more tropical areas and don't like drying out and don't like getting as much sun sometimes as we tend to get here. So I've got a couple of things like starfruit, like cinnamon in amongst this area, which really don't like being dried out. And at this time of year, when our trees are dropping their leaves, we've also got a lot of wind coming through, which means this area dries out more than I would like. And the solution that I've come up with in the past is to plant a lot of very tall poles of Dracaena, which then sort of slow the wind, and they don't really interfere down around the base with a lot of the other trees because they are very tall and they can strip the lower parts of leaves, and you just have that upper part slowing the wind, reducing the sun without creating too dense a shade, and yeah, just reducing wind movement, reducing drying. But the trouble with Dracaenas is they do branch quite vigorously, especially once they're well established, and then you get a very dense area and you have to keep stripping off leaves and taking off stems to keep it from getting too dense. So in an area where I haven't actually done that, in an area that I have recently taken away some ferns that were creating a very dense ground level, so I don't have much in here apart from a couple of bulbs, I thought I would put something which will do a similar job without needing nearly so much maintenance. So these are Carpentaria. I think it's Carpentaria cuminata. It is one of the Australian palms, and one of the really nice things about it is it fruits more or less year round once it's mature, which means it will be a permanent food supply for bats. This is very much a rainforest palm. It's an incredibly thin stemmed for a palm, which means it's very wind sensitive itself, and so it is quite good to plant them in groups generally, which is part of the reason that I'm doing 3 together. And this shouldn't really interfere with the trees around here. So I've got a cycad, and I've got a Peruvian apple, and I've got a sugar apple I planted recently, as well as a couple of other small trees and some fruit trees close by. These will go up through the branches of those in the long run once everything is mature. These do get pretty tall, but they shouldn't get to the sort of canopy height, so they shouldn't be wind blowing around in the much larger branches of the overhead Brachystegia, which could potentially knock their tops off. But those poles around the base should create a nice sort of structure for smaller plants to sort of depend on, but their tops should create light year-round shade, which isn't going to drop all its leaves like the Brachystegia has, and it isn't going to let the wind and the sun come through and dry everything out. Now with these, I'm not really needing to put companion plants because these are effectively going in as companion plants themselves, but I am going to be putting a couple of rhizome sort of corm growing plants. I'm not sure of the species of them, I'm not even sure of the genus. I think one of them actually is in the genus Iris, but I'm not sure. And then I'm going to be putting something called African hyacinth, which doesn't grow from bulb. It's actually a type of Sansevieria, which is now in the genus Dracaena, but it has a little very hyacinth-like flower, slightly purple flower for a Sansevieria, so it should be quite a nice effect, and it should blend in quite well with a lot of the bulbs, and being smaller than most of the bulb growing plants I've already got in this area, it will stay below them, so it shouldn't really interfere with them when they do want to come back up from their sort of dormancy periods. Right, so that should be everything for today. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed it, and if you haven't enjoyed it, thank you for watching anyway. Please tune in again tomorrow. I will be planting something else. I don't know what yet. It might be 2 things. It won't be 2 of the same, though. So we'll see.